friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for a video channel. This is Huck TV, and that Huck is in the building. We went out for one hike today. Kind of took me about 75. It was beautiful. Finally some warmer temperatures in northwest Montana. Probably a 4-mile hike. Huck's a little pooped, but she's in here anyhow. Hey, Huck. What's wrong? What's wrong, girl? Good girl. Oh, yeah, you're a good girl. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a good girl. Oh, you're good. You like some scratches, huh? Yeah, she says hello. Says, now, Dad, leave me alone. I gotta take my nap. Okay. So we're going back. And this is a missing 411 episode. Let me preface this by saying I've done over 625 cases on YouTube. I've done about 1,500 cases otherwise, books, movies, etc. I gotta tell you, this case is one of the strangest all time. So sit down, grab your almond croissant, put your feet up on a chair, put your head back, and you're going to go on a ride that you will not believe. And I'm serious when you will not believe it. Let me preface that I have a little expertise in this area that we're going to talk about. When I was at the police department, I made my way onto the street crimes unit. Street crimes was started in New York City many years ago. And what they did was they wanted to start arresting people at the street level for committing crimes against other victims. You, me, everybody else. So sometimes we would dress up like an old wino and lay on the street. People, bad guys, would come by and rifle through the pockets, take anything we had, and boogie. And then we'd have an arrest team of like 10 guys and just swoop in and arrest the credent that did it. One of our other assignments was there was a Macy's at Valley Fair, very, very nice shopping center in San Jose. And they had a heck of a problem with perverts going into the men's restroom, soliciting other men for sex acts, and then doing the sex act in the bathroom in front of anybody who walked in. So if you had a small child and they walked in and they saw that, not too cool. And that was just one location that was just horrendous. And then we had public bathrooms where the same thing would go on. So they sent us in plain clothes, and the chief was upset. He was mad because these citizens were calling in, and he hated that they couldn't go into a public restroom without seeing stuff like this. Committing a sex act in a public place is obviously a crime, indecent exposure, everything goes along with it. So my partner, we had 4 teams with 10 guys on each team. And each team worked corresponding days off. We worked 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. Both teams overlapped on a Wednesday. I was on a team that worked from 5 at night till 3 in the morning, and there were teams that worked from 7 in the morning till 5 at night. I love those hours. They were the best. Well, we were put on rotation to do certain things. Sometimes we worked prostitutes downtown. Sometimes we worked robberies downtown, burglaries, rapes. And then we all had to go through a rotation of going into the bathrooms and arresting these idiots. Needless to say, my partner and I, over the course of several years, arrested probably 100 of them. Most notably, I arrested a San Jose State professor for committing a lewd act in a public place. And yes, he was somebody that was very well known in the community. Nobody suspected it, but everybody knew he was a little odd. And there's the key. He was a little odd. I think his wife even knew that he was doing this kind of thing. I don't think it was a surprise to anybody in his family. And for the community around him that really didn't know him, I think they were surprised, but the people that worked around him, no, they weren't surprised. And there were several other very high-end business people that we arrested for doing the same thing. But they were all a little odd. I could never say that all of them acted normal, because during the time that we bring them in, question them, talk to them, it's a couple hours there. You get to know somebody, talk to them about their past, about their history, how many times they've been there, etc. And there was always an underlying current to these people that was all the same. Why am I telling you all this? Because people that do sexual perversion associated with a public place, I really can't explain it to you, but they run under this undercurrent that it's hard for me to put words around, but when I see it, I know it. It's the best I can tell you. So that's kind of my walk-in to what I'm going to talk to you about this case. This case involves a young man. This is the young man, Japanese, Yuki Sugano. Everyone called him Yuki. 26 years old. He went missing February 24th, 1989 in Fukushima, Japan. Yes, that same Fukushima where they had the nuclear meltdown. In high school, he played sports. He was good. And he was very good in music, played it, and wrote his own music. He was extremely smart. He was considered reliable, very social, extremely bright, got along with everybody. In that year, 1989, he was assisting with his village mayor's election. His residence, he lived with his father and his grandfather. He had a very good relationship. They described him as very dependable and reliable. He was employed by the Fukushima Daiichi power plant safety team. There's another picture of Yuki. Now, 40 days prior to the point of him disappearing, Fukushima reactor power plant 3 shut down. Days later, Yuki's supervisor committed suicide by stepping in front of a train in Tokyo. Well, that's pretty weird, don't you think, Dave? Yeah, I do. Now, 10 days prior to February 24th, the day he disappeared, they had the mayor's election in the village. Now, Yuki helped with the campaign of this candidate who won. Now, at about the time he wins, there's strong rumors in the community that this candidate had been bribed to approve the Fukushima Daiichi power plant because there were safety concerns. Now, Yuki was working on the side that it was all safe, and when he heard that somehow this candidate he had supported had been bribed, he walked out the night of the party announcing the mayor had won. He just left. Now, February 23rd, the day before Yuki disappears. Yuki went out that night to a party, got home late. Nothing unusual for a 26-year-old guy to do, right? The next day, February 24th, Yuki got up a little late, sees his dad, sees his grandfather, gets dressed, has some breakfast, and says, "Hey, I'm going to go out and run some errands. I'll be back soon." His dad later said, absolutely nothing unusual. Completely normal. Seemed like a typical day. He was himself. I've been around my son for 26 years. I know nothing unusual. Well, that was the last time his dad saw him. February 24th. Fast forward February 28th, 4 days later. The Mayakoji Elementary School It's a mountain community west of Fukushima. This is Fukushima Daiichi. This is Mayakoji Elementary School. This is considered a mountain community. There's a river that runs right by the school. And it's not that far at all from the power plant. And the school was 10 minutes from Yuki's residence with his dad and grandpa. So there were 4 teachers that lived in a dormitory type setting at the school. Each had their own room. They each had their own bathroom. And they had returned on the 28th after a holiday weekend away. Now, Yuki, there were rumors, no fact, there were rumors that he was seeing one of these 23-year-old teachers, a woman named Uni Kanoko. Well, Uni, everyone knew that teachers were going to be gone for these days, and they knew their date back was the 28th. Well, Uni comes into her room, turns the lights on, puts her things down, goes in to use the bathroom, and as she's passing the toilet, it's a special squat toilet in Japan. She looked in and she thought she saw a shoe inside the toilet. Now, this toilet kind of had a U shape to it. You squatted over here, it went down into the basin, it filled up, and on this side, on the outside, sewage disposal people would come here and put the pipe in and empty out the tank, and each room had their own toilet tank unit. So she looks down, she sees a shoe. She thinks, that's weird. And she gets a hold of some other teachers that just came back with her. And she says, hey, let's go to the back and let's look in the other side. So they go to the outside. The lid is on. They lift off the lid, they look inside, and they see a human leg. Okay, that's freaky. So they call the Tomura police. They respond code 3. They don't know if the person's alive or dead. They get there, they look down inside, they see a human leg. They reach down and try to pull the person out. Can't even come close to getting him out. Fire department's also responding, fire brigade. They get there. Now remember, the view from the fire and police at this point is they don't know if the individual's alive or dead. So they gotta figure that they are alive. So they get out some special tools and they figure that they're gonna have to dismantle and move the dirt away and take these pipes apart somehow to get this person out. So they remove the dirt, take the pipe apart. They get the victim out. He's obviously got sewage all over him. They wash him down. The body had rigor mortis and was deceased. Rigor mortis is one of those positive signs of death. The body had no shoes on. Body had no shirt on. It did have pants. It was lying on its back with its knees up to its chest, clutching a coat, a folded coat to its chest. So they wash the body down. They transport the body to the fire brigade house where they wash it down a second time before turning it over to the coroner. And they notice that there's just a few scratches near the joints, near the elbows and knees. Not serious, just some real minor ones. Nothing else. Now here's a diagram that came from Japan on the case. I want you to pay special attention to this. This is probably one of the most important diagrams you're ever going to see. This is the position of the body at the bottom of the U-tube tank. This is the part where you squat and you go to the bathroom. It's 7.8 inches wide. This is the part on the outside where they stick a tube down and empty out the tank. It's 14 inches wide. Those are the only two openings. The distance from the bottom of the tank to the top inside is 19.6. So he had 19.6 inches to bring his knees up. The total distance wide of the tank is 49 inches. Just 1 inch more than 4 feet. 14 inches wide. Remember that. Oh, last thing. So the distance from the top of the tank down to where it opens up is 23 inches. So it's 23 inches with just a 14-inch wide diameter till you get here. That is awfully tight. So Yuki is found, it was Yuki. He's found on his back with his knees near his chest. His head was turned slightly left, and one of his shoes was near his head. A search finds his other shoe 300 meters away from the location where he was located, next to a river. His shirt was never found. Stop there. Do you see any parallels right now? Shoes gone, missing clothing, shoe near a river. Yeah. I don't care what you say, body was found in liquid. Could have been it was sewage, but just saying. The temperature at the time that Yuki went missing, it was 41 degrees, and during that day he went missing, it snowed 8 inches. It was very cold. Yuki's car was found 100 meters away, and the car was parked behind other cars at this school, and the keys were in the ignition. I saw that, and I thought right away, he didn't park that there to stay long. There was no plan of him to stay long, because he wouldn't have wanted to block those other cars in. It was 41 degrees out. Very cold. Why take your shoes off, one of them down by the river, and why carry the other one up to the tank? After the police washed the body for a second time, which, by the way, in the United States, this would never happen. You bag that body the way it looks, you put them in the bag, and you send them to the coroner. And why is that? Because whatever is around him is evidence. Let's pretend for a second. Let's pretend he was in a fight for his life. And during that fight, he scratched his opponent. Well, then there would be fingernail scrapings that you'd have to take. But if you washed them out with a high pressure fire hose, you're not going to get squat. Huge mistake. Huge. And for this being 1989, I'm amazed they did this. And there's other things. There was no doubt if he was murdered, there was evidence in that tank. So Yuki died, according to the coroner, on February 26th. He disappeared on February 24th. He's found on February 28th. Where was he for 2 days? Yeah. After leaving his dad, where'd he go? Now, I hope you're sitting down, because I want you to really soak this in. The coroner said he died from hypothermia. They said there was no sign of a struggle or violence. No sign of a struggle or violence. The police stated that Yuki was a pervert, and he was going into the tank to look at the women. Hold your taters. I think that that is an embarrassing statement, to say the least. And why is that? Number one, where Yuki parked the car, behind others. He's not going to come out of that tank and jump in the car and drive home. Correct? Yeah. Number two, why is the shoe down near the river? If you're going to come out of that tank, you're going to want to wash off and get your shoes on right there. Number three, how in the heck did the shoe get up by his head? Think about this. Yuki would have had to have entered the tank head first. There's no other way. He would have had to have gone in head first and then circled back around and got into this position. Head first, circled back around and got into this position. If you believe that scenario, I don't. I'm just saying that this is what the police proposed. Now this is the 14-inch round opening of the tank. This is an exact duplicate of the tank, the U tank that Yuki went in and was found in. It's hard to look at this and accept how small it is until you have perspective. So, Yuki's dad was a good soul. He knew his son was a good kid. He also knew that none of the facts matched up. His son wasn't a giant, but his son was 5'6". He didn't understand how anyone voluntarily could get into that tank. Maybe if you were dead and I broke your collarbones, I could get you in. So the rumor was Yuki and the teacher who found this were dating. She wasn't coming back till the 28th. And Yuki knew this. Everyone knew this. Everyone knew the teachers weren't back till that night. So why enter on the 24th? Now the teacher was engaged to somebody else. And the rumor was maybe they were having an affair. This is all rumor. I hate to even talk rumors. But many accounts talked about this. So if you went out and saw it and you said, well, you never covered that. Well, I got to cover it. So the coroner said accidental death, entered voluntarily. I got a question. Remember I told you the only way to enter this pipe, the only way you could do that and make it work like that is to go in head first, right? No other way. If he went in head first, how did the cover get back on that pipe? Ta-da! I don't care what you think. Something else happened here. 1994. Yuki's dad went on Fuji TV. And he came prepared. He did a really good job. He showed photos of the incident. And he brought a man that was his son's exact size. And they did a recreation on the exact same type of pipe system. And the man tried to squirm his way into that pipe at that 14-inch wide area. He could not do it. The recreation was compelling. And if he did do it and was forced down into there, I don't see any way that you wouldn't have scratches all over the side of your shoulders. All over. So the coroner went up. So the father was adamant that his son couldn't do this. Not because he was morally superior, because he was, but because physically he was too big. So again, the coroner's theory, Yuki entered the pipe February 24th. But Yuki knew nobody was going to be there. So why enter the pipe on February 24th? Because remember, his car was parked behind other cars. He was in that pipe, stuck there, till February 26th, and then died from hypothermia because it was 41 degrees out. And he wasn't wearing anything, in essence. The victim's posture at the bottom was highly unusual. You would, in my world, you'd have to be Gumby to make that work. "14 inches diameter opening for 23 inches straight down. Then it opens up." But you got to remember something. Yuki had no idea how big this was. All he saw was this and this, if he did the surveillance on it beforehand. He didn't know how far down it was. He didn't know how far wide this was. He didn't know how much room there was in there. That's right. Who would do this? Nobody would do it. Let's be real. I think something else was at play. So Yuki was a 66-inch tall man. Now, the presentation I just gave to you was seen all over Japan. And in Yuki's village, they had 8,000 residents. 4,000, half of them, got together and signed a petition for the Tomura police to reopen Yuki's investigation because they didn't believe it. Weeks later, the police said that it was past the statute of limitations and they refused. Statute of limitations? What are they talking about? Statute of limitations. That applies to criminal prosecution. No, they're trying to figure out if a crime had occurred or how this happened. Forget about statute of limitations. There was also a rumor that Yuki was killed somehow related to the mayor's campaign. I heard that one. Honestly, there's nothing compelling about any of that. How did Yuki get his folded coat down into that hole, bent all the way around, folded neatly, and sitting on his chest where his hands are holding it? I want to refer you to something, because I wouldn't have thought of this unless I had known about it. Skinwalker Ranch. When the family owned the property before Robert Bigelow bought it, they had 3 prize-winning bulls. I don't know if any of you have ever spent time around a bull. Trying to get them to do anything is next to impossible. Well, they got the bull, they were away. They come back, the bulls are gone. They look around, they can't find the bulls. Then all of a sudden, one of their trailers is just rocking back and forth, side to side, like there's a tornado that hit it. So they go over to the trailer and they open it up. And inside the trailer, like sardines stacked inside, are the 3 bulls, side by side by side, still alive. They can't believe it. Nobody could get these bulls to do that. The bulls couldn't stand each other. You can't get them to get inside a trailer like this. Physically impossible. Now, when I was reading about Yuki's case, I immediately thought about these bulls. But I've had other cases where I've told you about people being in positions related to sewage pipes that make no sense. I think something else was at play here. I don't know what. I don't believe it's possible that Yuki got in that pipe. not with the recreation his father did. And common sense would tell you, with a 14-inch opening, you try to find a man 5'6" that could get in there. I don't believe it. Like I told you, this is one of the most bizarre cases ever. I don't know the particulars about how Yuki died, but I don't believe it was an accident. I feel very sorry for his dad, that some people and the police made this connotation about his son. I think that's horrible. I don't believe his son was a pervert. Some of you may think so, but I've been around too many. His son was too social. His son was too involved in the community. No, I don't believe it. But I thank you for being here. Really do. I wish you would pass this all over your social media and share it. Again, Naoki Sugano, nickname Yuki. Rest your soul. Remember, this is the kindness revolution. And there's Huck, deep asleep right now. My soothing voice put her to bed. You guys take care. It's kindness revolution. Paulides out.